If you go to the London Underground today, you will find no trash cans, or bins as we call them. And that's left over from the IRA's bombing campaign, when they used to plant bombs, leave suspect packages in the London Underground. Growing up in London in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I lived in this constant shadow of terrorism. And in fact, it came very close to my family in 1996, when the IRA bombed the London Docklands, and my cousin was working there and was lightly injured. But September the 11th, 2001 was a different experience of terrorism. It was global, an event that changed the world. It was televised terrorism, televised to the whole world at the same time. People in planes suddenly had their planes turned into missiles, and we all watched in horror. American audiences were spared some of the horror at the time that English audiences saw. We watched live in real time as people jumped from the Twin Towers in desperate hope that they might somehow survive the fall. American audiences were spared that. We all have memories of the day. I remember calling my sister. It was her 30th birthday, and I told her how sorry I was that this would affect her birthday for the rest of her life. Many of us remember calling loved ones to find out if they were okay. And many of us know people who were there and who survived, who were scarred, as well as knowing people who died. This Shabbat, Shabbat Shuvah, is a Shabbat for reflection about ourselves, about our community and our connection with society, and indeed about our connection with God. Shabbat Shuvah, coinciding with the 20th anniversary of 9/11, gives us an opportunity to reflect not just on the last year, but on the last 20 years. Not just on ourselves, but on our entire society. It gives us an opportunity to reflect, to remember, to ask ourselves what our response was to 9/11, and whether we want that response to develop 20 years on. There is a piece of liturgy which I have included with the email in which you'll find this video. It's a piece of liturgy called Two Candles by Rabbi Zoe Klein Miles. It's a way of setting the lighting of the two candles in memory this Shabbat, 20 years on. Two candles for the Twin Towers. This Shabbat, the Friday evening service and the Saturday morning service, is not only Shabbat Shuvah, therefore, but is also an opportunity for Cantor Liana and I to share some extra readings and songs to help remember that terrible day 20 years ago. And on Shabbat morning, we have invited a member of our community who was there at the World Trade Center site, who saw what happened with his own eyes. He's going to share his memories of that terrible day. I encourage you to therefore join us this evening and tomorrow morning. This evening, the sermon continues the theme of the journey of grief and the journey of repentance. And it reminds us, this time of these two things coming together, Shabbat Shuvah and the 20th anniversary of 9/11, it reminds us to ask ourselves, what was our journey of grief on that day and beyond? How have we journeyed forward from here? So I invite you to join us this evening, tomorrow morning, for our Shabbat Shuvah 9/11 anniversary commemoration service. And also, I invite you to join us for our Torah study, which tomorrow morning is going to be looking at the liturgy that was written by members that we used in our second day Rosh Hashanah service that was so very powerful. Tonight, we light two candles. One to observe Shabbat, one to remember Shabbat. One for Tower 1, one for Tower 2. And as we light, we remind ourselves of the journey through grief, through repentance, and the need to always make the world a better place, even in the face of real darkness.